Master of the sun, memories falling on concrete, leaving all behind. Now you swear to be my enemy, victim of your cards. I'm running in the dark, I've entered into nothing.
Right, good morning, welcome back. Day 21 Hayabusa build, and yet more fun and games on the front for the moment, I'm afraid. Now, as you see, I just set the time machine up and I'm going to be doing some machining today, and that is on fasteners, bolts and the like of. Now, first of all, there are two bolts underneath here. A few of you commented after the last video that this bottom sheet, this bottom bracket here is curving downwards. Is it buckled? It's straight, it's just the bolts in the middle are too long by about 3mm, and they're pressing against the cooler, bowing the cover down itself or the bracket. So I've just got to take those bolts out and machine them down to the correct length so they don't protrude above this, and then put a nice round on the top of them. And after that as well, something else somebody said, is that bracket at the bottom going to be too solid for it? I think so. And what I'm going to do with it later on, I'm going to put a gasket underneath that. I'm going to make a gasket from an old car inner tube. I've done that loads of times. It's fantastic material. Thick rubber, about 2.5mm thick, and that will go in there. Just cut it out with scissors, and it will form a gasket between the oil cooler matrix itself and the bracket, further isolating it from vibrations of the engine. So that'll all be later on. But today, machine those two bolts down, and then with the radiators off and out of the way, the fun starts. I've got to take the 8 bolts out that are in the cylinder head holding the exhaust headers on. Now, we all know, don't we, boys? They are an absolute living nightmare. If they aren't going to snap, then they're just going to stay there. They're horrible. They're mild steel. I think they were probably zinc coated back in the day, but they're just black, thick, corroded rust right now. So I've got the adventure of getting those 8 out first. I'm going to use my Rostov blue ice to its best effect, and if I can get all of those 8 out, I'm going to replace them with stainless steel ones. Now, there's a little bit more machining because they are M8 by 25, that's the standard factory length, and all I've got in stock in stainless steel is M8 by 30. So I've got to machine 5mm off the end of 8 different bolts. That's the kind of engineering stuff that you end up doing when you're modifying bits and pieces. It's great to do it, it's deeply enjoyable, and when I can do it, I can bang 8 stainless steel bolts in there with a little bit of copperies or something like that, just to stop them seizing in again. And then I can torque them up, and that's that job done. I'm not going to disturb the headers and take them off yet because there's no need to. If I do in the future, then I know at least they'll come off. Anyway, that's a lot of chat. Let's get these ones done first, then get the whole lot off and see if we can have an adventure getting those bolts out. Welcome back. Check these out. Isn't that better than file marks? Awesome. And they'll thread straight in because they're turned with a little chamfer on the end as well. Beautiful, lovely job. Now, they had to be turned down because they were M6 by 16 long. With the washer on, that was 14.5mm of thread protruding. So I've machined that down to 11. So they now fill the 11mm bracket perfectly and should come out flush. Yeah. Right, let's get this whole lot off so we can get to the header pipes and deal with the real problem. Right, now these 8 bolts here could be my nemesis. They truly could. There's 6mm head, 6mm Allen key, and some of them you can't even get, it doesn't even feel like a 6mm Allen key goes in there. Nothing, because there's so much corrosion inside. So a little screwdriver around inside and kind of scrape off the kind of flaked corrosion that's actually making that hole smaller. And then they just about go in. They really are going to be fun now. I'm going to press the old Rostov blue ice into service again. I don't know how it's going to work, but we shall see. 8 to get out. They're M8 by 25. I've got loads of M8 by 30, so I can get them all out, and I know that all the holes are clear and no broken stumps in there, and I can machine a new setup in stainless, put them in, put the radiators on, and that's another little chapter sorted. I've got to get there first. Right, one. One. Two. That's my play. Come on, baby. Oh, grungy, grungy. Four. Sparks. Okay. Head of that one is almost knackered. It's slipped in, and the head itself is chewing out. Same again. So that pipe, both bolts, they've moved, but the heads themselves are just so weak. They've actually stripped out a bit. On this side, one half of it shattered off. So there we are. Fun and games on that one. Nope. Nope. There we go. Right, there we are. 50% success rate. They are 25mm, so I've got plenty of bolts to replace them with, but I've got 4 stuck in and 4 came out nicely. And the problem appears to be, looking at them, is that the heads are so badly rusted that I'm stripping the head out, not actually snapping anything off. The thread that was in the engine is actually reasonably good. There's not a great deal wrong with that. That thread's not in bad condition at all. So I don't think it's they that are doing the holding on or the refusal to come out. It's the fact that you can't get a hold on them when that's a virtually brand new Allen key head. There's no wear on that at all, and that should go in and turn it. But it's gripping these ones, but there's hardly any movement, but there's so much corroded rust in there that as soon as you put any pressure on it, that just crumbles away and leaves you with good metal, which is larger than the size of that. Thankfully, because the threads themselves are not corroded into the head, that's a good thing, in the sense that if I have to drill the heads off, that's fine. I can drill the head off, and then the stump that's there should come out reasonably easy with a pair of grips, he said, hopefully. Anyway, so for now, all I can do today that remains in the time I've got before now and work starts is make the 8 bolts on the lathe, machine them down to replace these 4 and those 4, however they choose to come out in the end. There we are. You win some, you do some. 50% success on getting the bolts out. Let's get on the lathe and have a bit of fun. Right, now that's 8 new bolts made, ready to replace those ones when they come out. Now in the interim, between starting and finishing making those bolts, I came and had another glance at this because there was something that just attracted my attention, and on closer inspection we've got a bit of a disaster. Unfortunately, this project just got a great deal more complicated and quite probably a great deal more expensive, all because of corrosion. Let me show you this. Right, I'll zoom this right in. You see the crack? And that is a big terminal crack in the cylinder head exhaust port mouth, and it goes right the way around to 3 o'clock. There it is, you can see it's actually lifted up and it's going to break off. Right, now if I take this plate out of the way, what it's caused by is, if you see this slightly more healthy looking metal ring here, it's a steel collar, if you will, that presses up against the inside of the cylinder head port, and then this plate presses against this face and is subsequently bolted in and holds your exhaust in. And what's happened over here is that this collar, this steel collar, has corroded and rusted so much it's just disintegrated and turned into flakes, but in the process it's expanded. Just through the process of the way rust does expand as it grows, and that expansion has got into there and it's forced that little ring here to just fracture and expand away. So it's nothing more than extreme corrosion. It's not bodgery, it's not absolute neglect, kind of really. It's not a neglect of servicing or a neglect of cleaning. Who cleans in this area? Do you clean in this area of your bike when you've got big radiators and oil coolers and a massive fairing? Of course you don't. It's just this poor old bike has had such a hard life that that area has been subject to absolute corrosion. And the mild steel on these collars is just not up to resisting it. It's expanded, as I just said, like rust does. It grows as it gets bigger. The flakes tend to stack up. And that's a tight fit. If you look at these two, they don't come out easily. They're a complete tight fit. That has expanded away in there. And this, what, 3mm thick piece of cast aluminium, this mouth of the exhaust port, that just can't take the pressure. And the rust on the inside has just forced it out and cracked it. No different to the way water freezing inside an engine block can crack an engine block. So while we have core plugs in car engines, it's a sacrificial plug that gets pushed out as ice forms inside the engine and it expands. Well, it's exactly the same here, but there's nothing that's going to stop that other than stopping it corroding. We have liability issues here. I bought this bike, and this is what I want to say to end this video. I purchased this Suzuki Hayabusa from a very good, well-reputed local motorcycle dealership, and they're not Suzuki main dealer by any means, but they are an independent dealer of great reputation. And I've known them 25 years, I know the guys that work there, and in the interim, between making these and finding that, I've had a very quick phone call with them. The owner of the company is away at the moment, and he's not back at the dealership for 2 days. I'm going to have a chat with him on the phone in 2 days' time, and we're going to come up with a plan. So I will talk to you in the next video. I'll tell you what we've come up with, what the suggestion is, what we're going to do about this. Because there's nothing, you can't neglect it, you can't just leave it. If that breaks off, the exhaust is just going to blow straight out there from the cylinder head and just be a complete mess. So that's not going to stand. That has to be fixed, or something has to be arranged in some way. I don't exactly know what, but we'll come up with something. So there we are. I just want to work out a way that he and I are happy to go forward, for him to take on some responsibility of this so we can get past it. So there we are. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Sometimes you need a sense of humour. Take it easy, ride safe. I'm going to take the board. I'll see you next time.